Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Brim Fishing Project. And I've got something a little bit different, a little bit special for you today. And with me on the line, I have the one and only Chris Purnell.
Hey, Jeethy, how are you, sir?
Mate, I am very good. I'm particularly excited about what we're going to talk about today. Mate, a couple of things coming up. We're going to talk all things Hobie, next year's Hobie calendar. We're going to wrap up from last year and anything else that I can think of, basically.
Mates, yeah, we've there's a few things on the agenda, so let's see if we can't share to these wonderful people that are involved with the Brim Fishing Project and yeah, see what they think of it once it's all out there.
All right, very good, mate. Let's roll the intros. We'll get straight into it.
Welcome to the Brim Fishing Project. This is where you need to be every Tuesday to find out all the latest tips and tricks to help you target brim on lures. You'll get to hear from some of Australia's elite brim competition anglers and see how they were able to achieve their results in competitions around the country. Now, here is your host, the 2019 Hobie Kayak Fishing World Champion, Andrew Deeth.
All right. So, mate, one thing before we start, we do have to get you on in a little private recording and we need some new intros and stuff happening there, mate. I think we need to get your voice on the show every week.
I have a funny feeling that we might have touched on this subject once before, but we've never quite managed to follow through. So it's
No.
something about having a head for radio, mate.
Very good, mate. Very good. Oh, I'm still going to come back to that. All right, mate. What I think we might do is we might just wrap up the end of the year. We've had a couple of rounds in the last few days. How about you tell us about Baril? Tell us what happened down there.
Look, it's been an arena that I think has probably been on the eyes of several people over the years, and I guess we always sort of have this. I don't want to say odd in a negative sense, but we always have this kind of odd um, sort of thought in the back of a lot of anglers' mind is that, oh, is it going to be too small? Is it going to handle everyone? Can it hold the pressure? And in all honesty, there was far more water there than even I gave credit to.
Right.
I think we actually caught up with none other than Greg Lewis on a couple of occasions during the day, and he's a guy that almost is right on the shores of
Yeah,
Barrel Lake, and I think he was up what they call the Western Arm,
sure.
and he literally himself just said, "Look, what can you see?" I said, "Well, I can see a lot of water." He said, "But can you see anybody?" And I'm like, "Well, no." So Greg made a pretty big push for sort of trying to see us get back there and do a 2 day event. So I think that's something that we'll. Yeah, I don't know that it's going to unfortunately get us into Series 17,
Sure. I
but
guess
maybe that's something that we can
I,
absolutely wrap it up into a future series.
I was going to say we're going to find out later in the episode whether we're down there. So,
Well, I'll
um,
probably might have let that small cat out of the bag. But one guy that seems to like the place a lot is Luke Rogan.
yeah, apparently it works quite well for him. So, yeah.
It's look, it was great to see Luke get another result, and I guess in that space, another result for the guys at Fish Tech Solutions, and that's look. I think we kind of said it in our quick chat at the start of this. It's like if he wasn't such a nice guy, he's kind of
Exactly.
he's won just a little bit too frequently of late.
He has done very well. It's going to be interesting to see how the AOY goes next year. So, yeah, he's definitely been
Yeah.
up there in most events he's competed in.
No, look, he is a lovely fellow. He represents the guys there well, and yeah, certainly the boy can fish. There's no doubt about that. So
Exactly. And look, before we move off Baril, I know we had some pretty unsavory weather, let's say. A little bit of wind happened, but the arena got a big tick in most sort of cases.
yeah, look, I've seen a few, I guess what you'd call sort of insights, and I think it's something that one of our other wonderful sponsors, in fact, are the guys at Hurricane Lures, and having a bit of a chat to Naughty, and I think he's been using some really neat AI tools to provide some reviews and overviews.
Mm.
And that's something that I'd probably like to get into in a little bit more detail, maybe in another setting. But yeah, there's just some really cool results and cool, as it's called insights that come out of these things. And but Burrell definitely performed fairly tough. I don't think there's any doubt about that. The weather definitely came up a little heavier than what we were anticipating, what we saw on the forecast. But I guess it's It's definitely nothing to write somewhere off. I mean, we'll talk a little bit more as we get through this, but there's been some marinas and even like St George's Basin over the years. We've literally just come off the water from that one yesterday.
Yeah.
You yourself would know Southern Brim Series rounds, boats and kayaks on the water, and I relived the day over and over again where there's somebody that rocks up with a 1.7 odd kilo fish. Everyone's going wild about it, and then within two other guys to come up to the bump tub, there's a 1.8 odd, and then there's a 194, and then the very next angler has a 196.
Yeah.
Um, it's definitely got the runs on the board, and I think as a whole, the entire East Coast, with the amount of rain that we have had across the last couple of years, it's changed a lot of these systems a lot. Like looking at the salinity levels, looking at the lack of cockle and the like in some of these places. I don't ever want to necessarily write these places off,
Sure.
but I think as anglers, we do have to overcome and adapt. And it was the same as Wallaga this year. It's a hard time of year as getting on the water for sort of September, October is, if you could almost kind of blank those 2 months out, I think it'd almost be better.
I think so.
Um,
Yeah.
but we've got to be somewhere unless we change the dynamics of those series completely. And I look at the likes of ABT kind of, you know, they've got the beautiful system where they can go and chase different species at different time of year where it really works for them and then come back to the brim very, very late in the year. So
Yeah.
it's, we don't quite have that opportunity just at this point in time, but nonetheless, great results there for Luca Perel. Grant Oliver, we just spoke about him off air. What a great result.
Great result. Good to see Grant get up and win an event. And also for someone that's running another series, another tournament, New South Wales tournament series, he knows all the ins and outs and what it's like to run a series. So good to see him fish a different event.
Yeah, look, and again, we just touched on ABT a little bit, but Morgo sort of set that tone early on, and I guess even he and Nicole were out in the axe down in Tassie the last time we were down there. So we love sharing our space with all of these amazing tournament groups, and are just very, very privileged that they're prepared to take their time to come across and jump on with us. But I could definitely see it in Grant there over the weekend that it really meant a bunch to him. I think he said at one point in time there he only lived a few kilometres down or basically off the water down towards Sussex himself. And I think it's probably one of those things. It's your favourite golf course that you want to hit a hole in one on. It's your favourite cricket ground that you want to score a ton. I think for Grant, it's very fitting that he managed to take his maiden win, I guess, on St George's Basin.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, one of those tough things, tough round. But yeah, I always feel inspired to come back and try and win and catch some fish as it turns out. But anyway, yeah.
No, it was like that, and I think some of those insights that we're sort of sharing elsewhere and sort of collating with Nordy was interesting. The way that one, sort of really did show that we've had a very tough back end of the year. We got a beautiful start to the season down in Gippy, and there was one particular angler that I'll just quickly recollect, Jason Bennett. That's one of his first events with us, and here he was throwing back 1.1 kilo fish because his bag of 3.6 odd kilos, the ones just didn't cut it on an upgrade. So
yeah,
it's been a great series. I have to just give a massive thanks to each and every one of the sponsors that have been involved with us. And I say it every time we get on stage, and not only this year but in years past. And I think with some of the other things that we'll go through a little ways, I guess we'll lead into this now, with a lot of the change that we've had as an organisation, well and truly outside of anything to do with the fishing series, but it does, of course, run hand in hand, side by side. I still find myself speaking to a lot of anglers, whether they're new or old or otherwise, and just sort of saying, look, these events are so insanely important to us, I guess, from a connection point of view, connection to market. But then it's not without saying that it's actually not our primary function as an organisation.
right.
We manufacture, import, distribute, support the Hobie brand right the way throughout Southeast Asia. And there's an awful lot that goes into making sure that this series is what it is for everybody that sort of puts their hard-earned time, money, energy, effort, time away from family, etc., into it. So I said it on the weekend, these events are not possible without the anglers. These events are definitely not possible without the sponsors. And provided that we have both of those, we will absolutely do our best to make sure that we continue to improve as an organisation
Yeah.
and an event series and make sure that we can make the best experience for anglers each and every time they choose to turn up with us.
Absolutely. All right, so let's roll into to what's been going on with Hobie. Obviously, some big changes over there in the last 12 months or a few years, really. And how about you tell us exactly what's going on?
For sure. Look, Teddy, I think any business is never immune to change. And I guess the $64,000 question that's been on everyone's mind, I guess once there was some discussion, announcement, information that sort of started to sort of flow out of the US is that Hobie's available or it's on the market. I guess come back into 2021, we had the first real ownership change for some nearly 3 decades.
Yeah.
In fact, the two families that had been involved as the ownership of the Hobie Kayak company also had a change of direction. And we had an organization that was, involved with 3 particular individuals at the point of purchase. But they came into the business and the industry at a time that was undergoing an immense amount of change. I mean, that COVID period for some was the highest of highs, and for others, it was the lowest of lows.
Yeah.
So, I guess, look, in retrospect, from our angle, and this is not exclusively speaking for Hobie Kayak USA, I guess all I can talk about is, what I've seen as the managing director for Southeast Asia, and the way that we interact with that group. And there is sometimes a little bit of there's obviously a physical disconnect, but then we are otherwise, generally speaking, operating here in Australia as our own independent entity. We do have responsibilities, of course, to the ownership group that is part or that forms the Hobie Kayak company. But look, the last 12 months off the back of COVID, there was a lot of time, energy, effort, and dare I say, a lot of money invested to try and keep up with what was seemingly now, in retrospect, expected to be an ongoing theme of sales. The move into Mexico, the brand new facility. I was very fortunate to get down and see that on a couple of occasions. And in all honesty, DP, it was hospital grade. You could eat off the floors. It was a state-of-the-art facility there that the team had put together, and it was actually a very big step forward, dare I say, from the very, very humble beginnings of what was being done in Oceanside from a manufacturing point of view. But I guess as it had it, the world continued to change again. It changed rapidly into COVID, and then it seemed to change rapidly out of COVID.
Yeah.
And dare I say, probably from a spending perspective, certainly to what we've seen in Southeast Asia, and specifically in Australia, that in our sector, that recreational sector, it was a real shift equally as quickly up as it was down.
Yeah.
And I think there was a lot of spending. I think there was probably spending that was done 2 and 3 years in advance that was ultimately done in the period of about 18 months. So fast forward out of that, and I guess across the last 11 or so months, the process of this restructure has been taking place. And I guess there's been a lot of YouTube, social media, anybody that's got an opinion has a platform to be able to share that opinion. And I guess some of that I was sort of sitting on the sideline listening and watching. It doesn't make you smile on the basis of going, my goodness, you are so far off the mark. But it was a really interesting insight into just how engaged people are in our industry, whether it's kayak fishing, boat fishing, whether you're kind of red or blue, Daiwa, Shimano, forward Holden, however that happens to work out. But the long and the short of it is that it was actually only by the time this airs, which will be on the Friday, as I understand, it will only have then been 1 week, DP, since I had my first Teams meeting with a wonderful gentleman who is actually the president of the White River Marine Group. And with Brian on that call was our first interaction. So to try and answer a lot of the questions from our end of the world about what is the Bass Pro Shops, what is White River Marine Group, what does it mean for Hobie, I am but 7 days into this, exclusively myself. But what I can see, and I guess we really want to work on glass half full, not glass half empty.
Yeah.
It was a necessary move. It was a necessary change for our brand. If people do take a moment to go back and have a look at not maybe judging or casting an opinion on what they think a particular entity is, but maybe just take a wind back and have a look at where they came from. And if you take a look at what Bass Pro is and who Johnny Morris is and what he developed in his beginnings and what Hobie Alter developed and grew from his beginnings, it's an amazingly similar story.
Yeah.
Somebody that just has a clear love and passion and then have developed those loves and passions into almost a runaway train
Yeah.
of success. So I guess for anybody that does want to jump online and take a look at, and I said it there before about the White River Marine Group, you might have heard of Tracker Boats, an aluminium boat in the US that was the original sort of founding craft from Johnny Morris himself. But then in particular on the brim scene, Ethan, the names of Triton, Nitro, Ranger are all under the White River Group.
Yeah.
We'll just say that again: Nitro boats, Triton boats, Ranger boats, all under the White River Marine Group. You can jump into the sort of recreational market with Tahoe fiberglass boats, Mako offshore boats, Hatteras, probably one of the absolutely premier offshore game boats in the US. They also have their own Ascend kayak brand. So I guess where all of that leads me, I guess, as the director at our end of the world, and then probably as much as anything, the level of responsibility that I have to our dealers, to the end consumers, staff at this end. These guys bring an unbelievable manufacturing prowess to the table that I think is absolutely required at our end as a brand right now. I don't know that we could have necessarily fallen into better hands, for lack of a better description. Yeah, I think it's going to be an amazing move, and I would love to be able to sit back and maybe take a listen to this in 2 or 3 years' time and just go, "Hey, were we on the mark? Were we not?"
Yeah.
But right now, I guess what I do have is, I guess, a renewed level of confidence, in particular for, as I said, our team, but in particular the families and the dealers. And when I do say that, I mean they are mum and dad operations that run these stores, and I think probably for a lot of people, as a consumer level, they don't actually realise at times that the various outlets, Sunstate Water Sports is an independent outlet that is different to Hunter Water Sports.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they are Hobie dealers, but they are not owned by Hobie. They're not controlled by Hobie. They are independent mum and dad businesses that we are just lucky to be involved with that stock our brand.
Yeah.
So these guys and girls do mean an awful lot to us. I'm not lost on that, coming away from actually being a Hobie dealer myself.
Yeah.
And I guess just in a nutshell, big 12 months has been, and hopefully a bigger and much, much more positive 12 months moving forward. And we can really get back to building the trust,
Yeah.
and then beginning to innovate again. But we certainly have to make sure we get parts and accessories back on the shelves. We have a consistent supply chain coming back for each and every one of the users, whether it's from our perspective, Australia, New Zealand. We also look after Tahiti, Fiji, Philippines, Thailand, Taiwan, Singapore, Korea, Guam. It's an amazing network and a big area that we look after, that we've just got to get some product back on the shelves, buddy. That's ultimately what that wrap up is. And I don't think there's too many better placed organisations to give Hobie the support that it needs, other than White River Marine and Bass Pro Shops.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I think coming out of the last sort of 12, 18 months where things have been a little bit tricky for you guys, obviously, and just in terms of Australia and our little series, everything's been quite difficult. I'm hoping this will be a new step forward, and hopefully with those big names, big American names, it'll be a nice synergy between boats and kayaks and what have you, and we can see more cars with boats on the back and kayaks on the roof. How good would that be?
It'll certainly keep us busy, mate. That's for sure. And as you said, look, these series and things that we run aren't without, as we keep saying, they're not without the participants, they're not without the sponsors, and much the same from an organisational perspective. If we don't have very well seasoned owners, and backers of process, then it makes it sort of hard for the rest of it to come out. And you're right, we rolled into Series 16 with only a part season or part series being released, and then we went in dribs and drabs right the way throughout the year. But we were so unbelievably fortunate to have so many people sort of stick with us through that. And I guess the better part of it now is that it's October. We are well and truly ready to get a calendar out. Let's do that.
Exactly. I think that's exactly where we're headed. And I don't know when the Hobie calendar is traditionally released, but I reckon it's not this early.
Yeah, look, I will use the word frustration that we sort of, I guess, on a personal level, regardless of wearing a Hobie hat, tournament director's hat, whatever title needs to be there with it. But the process of Series 16 was pretty brutal at the mental and, dare I say, even emotional torment front.
Mm.
It's like, do we, don't we, do we, don't we? And I guess now, I can't even remember. It almost sounds horrible to say, but it's not like Australia Day. We know it's the 26th. It's not like we don't sort of generally land on any particular time. But what I do know is that to try and get everybody else to get their ducks in a row. I think ABT have just done theirs. We've had some great communication with Steve and Nicole. Vic Brim, we've been communicating with. We spoke about Grant Oliver before. And all of this is actually predominantly gets instigated through ABT. They get the email out. That's right. Here's the draft calendar. I'd sent them some details previously just to make sure we didn't sort of clash with some things. And then everybody gets together. And it's like, right, how do we make this work for everyone? And I think on the most part, that's also one of the successes of the entire tournament series platform, regardless of whether you're a kayaker, a boater, a non-boater, bass barra or otherwise, is that the general understanding is that it's not even so much about those series, it's about the participants. And it's like, how can we squeeze 7 different tournament series into 4 weekends a month across a 12-month period? So it's a big juggle for everybody. But we're here. We're about to find out where we're going and what we're doing. There might be a few oohs, there might be a few ahs, there might be a few, oh, really? But hey, we keep saying it's called fishing, not catching. So, and I think in particular for the Hobie events is that I said it on the stage on the weekend, mate. But once again, if you're here for the fishing exclusively, then you are absolutely missing out on at least 80% of the reason why most people, I would hope, turn up to these events.
Yeah. I was going to say, to touch on that, like my fishing in the St. George's Basin round we just had was, let's say, not at its best, but it was still a great weekend. Like, we still got to catch up with people that I've now known for 10 and some 15 years. And we all went fishing together, and it was pretty all right. The weather was pretty good. Can't complain too much.
Yeah. No, look, it's the way that, I can kind of sit back in the mornings and I'm kind of running, get your bloody key tags, hurry up, come on over for the briefing.
Yeah.
If I kind of sit back for a minute and just watch everybody interacting, you could otherwise just have a get together for everyone to stand around in the car park with all of the gear. And I guess if we didn't have to kick off for a briefing at 6:30 and a fishing slot at 7, I'm pretty sure that most people would still be standing there at midday, just chin wagging.
100%. I saw you both days walk up through the car park, go, come on, guys, we've got to do the briefing. I told you, well, you didn't say I told you weeks ago that it was going to be 6:15, but you kind of did. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And one of the nice things is, the guys share their information down there. Like, they're like, oh yeah, I got them on this, I got them in this depth.
No, it's I think it's an entirely necessary part of the process. But hey, we're, as I said, Series 17, DT. Like, my goodness.
I know.
It's been a while.
It has been. Let's get into it, mate.
Let's
get into Series 17. Tell us what we're going to do to kick it off.
Rightio. So, as it stands on the calendar that I have in front of me right now, obviously we've made the shuffle out of the back end of this year that will roll into an Australian Championships in the early part of February next year. We'll get all of the details of that finalised and have that out ASAP. But what it is going to mean, it's going to mean a very busy February for the Hobie Kayak Fishing Series. So, moving outside of the AC, we are going to kick off in what I think is otherwise probably the premier and or at least at a minimum by words the most favourite of most of our anglers. We're going to be February 17, 18, DT, and we are headed to Bemm River.
Very nice.
So interestingly, that one, I would say it may very well be the first time that we have ever been to Bemm River midweek.
I think so, 100%.
So with that being the case, and the lead in there, I guess, for the reason that we would be there midweek is that it is a Victorian doubleheader. And then we are going to roll. So that'll be 17, 18. The 19th will be a travel day or lay day, grab a word that you like. 20th, you'll do your pre-fish for Marlo.
Yeah, okay.
So, and that'll be 21, 22. So 20th will be your pre-fish. 21st, 22nd is other tournament days. That is a Saturday, Sunday. And there's probably no nicer place to have a quiet brew than on the veranda there of the Marlo Hotel, overlooking that wonderful waterway.
Okay. Yeah, that is very good. Marlo's definitely one of my favorite locations. So just to recap, so I get this right, So the competition at Bemm is 17-18, which would be a Tuesday, Wednesday,
Tuesday, Wednesday.
which means the Monday would be pre-fish.
Correct.
So people can then get their traveling almost within a neat week. So they go Monday.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at Bemm. On travel day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at Marlo.
Yeah. And look, we understand it's an enormous commitment for anglers to be shooting away for a week. It's not. It's barely a month after the whole school holidays thing kind of wraps up. Everyone's trying to get back into some with kids going into high school. So there's a lot of change sort of happening around that time. So, but traditionally, the back end of February, or even in fact, I think in years gone by, Zeethy, I think I recollect being down at Bemm, kind of late January, and
Yep.
it was still in the school holidays. So we're trying to sort of give as much sort of space at the front end of the season to let people have their family time and their holidays and the like. And we are going to interrupt that slightly, or be very close, I should say, by ways with our AC. But at least the BEM process, the system should have had 3 weeks rest after a pretty busy holiday period. And hopefully we can get down there to catch some really neat fish. And then I guess rolling into Marlo, I guess, Jeepers, you only just have to ask Simon Morley what he thinks of the place. A remarkable run down there that he's had. And a little birdie tells me, Deety, that we might actually have a former, well, we want to call him an Australian champion, but he actually won one of the last available grand finals. But Daryl Head tells me that he's going to have a fish down at Marlo.
I heard that. I heard it as a rumour. I hope he does.
Me too, absolutely. It'd be great to see Daz back on a yak. But I think Marlo still is definitely one of, if not his, absolute favourite fishery.
Yeah, me too. And one of the things I like about Marlo is, there's days where you will actually struggle, but then I think we've recorded our biggest bag in a Hobie comp ever, which was Rick Massey, I think, around about that.
Absolutely was, yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's been some absolutely corkers caught down there, whether it's in a Hobie event, the Vic Brim events, ABT events. It is the home for big fish.
It is.
They may very well be a little fewer and far between, but hey, you'll get the rewards. You really will. So, but we'll see how that one pans out. But that'll basically wrap up the month of February.
And I do need to touch on one last thing. Another one of our longtime contestants, David Hedge, did have a couple of absolutely cracking days down there until he caught an eel, but we're not going to go into that.
But if you do need to ask Hedgie, he will give you a moment by moment recap.
Yep.
Of exactly what transpired.
Exactly. All right, let's roll into round 3, mate. Where are we going to head off to?
Rightio. So March 21, 22, so arguably 4 weeks apart. Mate, we're going to give Wallaga Lake another crack.
Very good.
I think we just hit it at a fairly challenging time of year. And I guess one of the other things, I know that we are there for the angling, and I know that's obviously paramount to the series. I had a chat to a fellow that I hadn't seen for a bunch of years, actually. He used to have a business up in the Nowra region. I didn't even know that he was actually down that way. And I was sort of having a quick chat to Jeff, and he's like, man, he said, you're probably a few weeks too soon, just at this time of year, obviously a big sort of transitional period. He said they just haven't come out of the river yet. And I'm like, yep, no, I got it. It's we are where we are. But yeah, we had a bit of a yarn, and there was another fellow there that he was quite accustomed with. And I went, rightio. So, look, we'd all love to fish back-to-back events, basically running February, March, April, May, I guess, and then have a season done. But look, the setting that's down there, you couldn't probably script a better spot. Great accommodation, great access to the Camel Rock Brewery down there. If you probably got to walk any more than 45 metres from your accommodation to being at your kayak, then you're probably got a little bit lost.
Sure.
But look, we want to go back down there and give it another run. We're always looking for somewhere new that can accommodate the right number of anglers that still provide some good results. We'll probably take a little bit of a poll after we've gotten Wallaga done again and see what it means. But yeah, we're sort of trying to keep that sort of southern region. It's a little bit of a balance that some may consider, some may not, but just what it means through the season for the anglers, where people are based, where I guess predominant people come from in the entrance, and we're gonna do Wallaga again, and I'm far more confident about a March result than probably the results that we got to see this year in September.
Yeah, so mate, as someone that fished that event, there's a few things I would say that probably echo what you had said. In my time of fishing, I think it is probably the best launch that I've ever been to by far.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in terms of just being a nice, easy launch, like sandy bottom, heaps of room to move, kind of perfect. We had breakfast, coffee virtually on the water, and they're the brewery up the top of the hill. So everyone can come down and do their thing, not leave the place. I'm told that fishing gets a lot better in different months of the year, so hopefully we get the right one. But having said all that, our winner got 6.41, which is just an incredible bag. So lots of things to consider.
Yeah, you're right, mate. And look, it is a competition.
Mm.
We've just come off the back of the end of the NRL season. We've come off the back of the AFL season. And there are rounds through using both of those, I guess, as a bit of a guide, where teams just get absolutely pumped. And others, they're a really closely fought contest.
Yeah.
And I think for the bulk of our series or our season, there is generally some fairly closely fought contests. And everyone kind of feels like they've had a good opportunity at it. But sometimes we get a little bit of a reality check, whether it's individual sports or team sports. And I guess the whole back half of the year, Wallaga for some, Baril for some, St George's Basin for some. In actual fact, for some, it was a combination of all three, where it just kind of gave us a little bit of a hiding. But let's go back and have a look. And as I said, there's something there. Look, we are there to fish. We are there to compete. I need a 6.5 kilo bag. Is everyone going to catch that at Wallaga? No. But, does it mean that there are obviously some amazing fish in there? And I think at the right time of year, it is going to be a closer fought contest with more fish. And that's not flathead deethy, by the way, either. That is more bream.
More bream.
So, yeah, so that's what we're going to do in March. We had another location actually rolled into that month. And we flicked it out in with a bit of a swap for what we're going to do in May. But we'll get to that after we get through April.
Okay. The only thing I would comment about that is when you touched on what's going on with the NRL, I don't really want to talk about the overall winners, but I would like to discuss who knocked Canberra out.
You can do that, and I have no comment.
Fair enough.
No, it's like I'm not that closely following it. We've all got a team. We all sort of have a favourite colour. My favourite colour is green, and so actually, to be fair, I thought we were a little bit harder done by with the Brisbane result, to be fair.
Well, that was good. For everyone that's unhappy about the winners, there's a bunch of people that are very happy about it. So,
totally.
Where are we going to go to in April?
Well, Apple Isle, buddy. Tasmania.
Right. Tasmania.
Yeah, very keen to get back down there. Again, look, I think the fishing supports all of the energy, effort, and the like that it costs, and I should say also cost to get down there. I think it's a really unique opportunity. And if you haven't, as an angler, had the good fortune to get down there, I can't stress it enough. It's just a genuinely beautiful part of the world. We've got some amazing relationships down there. In particular, there at Little Swanport with the Boomer Creek Vineyard. Where else do you, I guess a few years ago there, make an absolutely brutal cold call? Astrid was a lady that picked up the phone and had said, "Hey, somebody that knows you gave me your number. We were trying to get organised over at the boat ramp. We ran into a few hurdles. Things didn't work out as a launch site. They suggested that it might be okay to come over your way. What do you think?" And it was just a glowing, absolutely no problem. What can we do to help?
Wow.
So we're really looking forward to getting back down there and supporting those absolutely lovely people. So that'll be Little Swanport DT on April 8th and 9th. So that will be our midweek run for that particular round. The 10th, you will roll straight into your pre-fish for the back-to-back event there, which is going to be the 11th and 12th. And that will, of course, be the Swan River.
Very good. And with that, at the moment, I think you arranged some stuff on the ferry.
Spirit. Yep. So that's all in check. Everyone should have otherwise gotten an email on that one. If you have not and you would like that information, please shoot us an email through to media@hobiekat.com.au and we will gladly send you the link. There is some pre-allocated and guaranteed space on the Geelong to Devonport, which is slated to be the 6th, which is the Monday. is the sailing on that one, and then is the 13th on the way out. So it's a fairly concise kind of get in on the 6th, arrive on the 7th, roll straight into everything, do your event 8th and 9th. It's going to be 6 days or 7 days of just go. But I think for the most part, DT, everyone sort of bases themselves out of Swansea, and then you're barely 15 minutes either side of the township to both of those locations. And I just don't know that it gets much better than that.
Yep. And you're doing this in conjunction with?
Yes, of course. Yes, I'm glad you led right into that. I have it written down here. So the Tasmanian Kayak Fishing Series and also the good people at the Launceston Angling Club. So we actually had a couple of the guys come up and compete at Wallaga this year. It was great to see the boys up there, and that they're going to make our lives a completely different sort of setup and make our lives so much easier. They, in fact, have their own bump tubs, they have their own scales. So we'll still do all of our entries through the Hobie system and make sure that everything's kind of run and collated that way for this particular year. But we are looking to create, affiliate events with the guys at the Tasmanian Kayak Fishing Series, just the same way that we have done with the West Australian Tournament Anglers, the same that we've done with Brim Master SA, and that we can actually have some events that take place down there every single year that are going to be part of the AOY eligible platform for the anglers in that region. And then much the same as we've seen the likes of Joey Gardner out of WA flying across doing East Coast events. If somebody's keen to shoot down to Tassie and go and do another round down there partway through the season that doesn't collide with something that's happening up here on the mainland, then that's going to be another opportunity that is going to be available in years to come.
Very good, mate. One thing I do want to say about the Tasmanians, when we went down to Wallaga, we had a young fella called
Ethan Howard.
Yep. Mate, ended up in 22nd. I think he was the best ranked out of the Tasmanian guys. He even gave me a bit of a hiding, so big shout out to Ethan.
Mate, I actually got to catch up with Ethan at Tamar Marine. We had a bit of a day down there for the opening of the trout season. Yeah, it actually wasn't that long ago, to be fair. Yeah, got to catch up with Ethan for the first time, still at school, working actually at the local Anaconda outlet. Down there, he has his own Passport 12, just lives, eats, and breathes everything fishing.
Exactly. And what about in terms of kayaks being available for people to borrow, hire, etc.?
Yeah, so still working through some details with the guys at the series and the Launceston Angling Club. I do believe there's certainly going to be a handful of kayaks available down that way. I know that Jeremy from Tamar Marine, of course, will do absolutely everything in his power to be able to make things available. And if there is something there that we need to do, we might yet be shuffling a couple of compasses down that way that are the same sort of format as what we've had with the Australian Championships in the last couple of years. And I'm glad you just didn't poke your eye out then, mate, with those earphones coming off and your glasses flying everywhere. If only people could see what's actually happening.
It was a bit of a moment.
But look, we do want to make opportunities available if people don't have the ability to take the time for travel and the whole spirit journey and the like. That if there's half a dozen or maybe even more craft to be able to borrow and or sort of, dare I say, rent from somebody, then it is definitely the more the merrier. And we would love to be in a position to crack a field of more than 50 for both of those events for sure.
Yeah, how good is that? Something definitely look forward to. I would say to people, now is the time to do some bookings. You're going to have all the information after this. I'm sure it'll be all available on the Hobie website. And
look, it definitely is. Well, I think that information probably came out, because it might have even been 4 or 5 weeks ago for those emails for people to get that information. So, but if there is anybody there that we've missed or overlooked unintentionally, of course, please get in contact with us and we'd love to share that information for you.
100%. All right. So, mate, when people come back to the mainland, where are they going to drive to, mate?
All right. So just wrapping back up April. So it's a slightly shorter gap there from Wallaga. So that's 21, 22 of March. And then you are on the Spirit, arguably on the 6th for an 8th and 9th event down in Tassie, 11th, 12th. You do have a little bit of a gap. We were, DT, looking at planning a mainland event very close to the return of us on Tassie. But with the shuffling around of those locations in May, we are now going to be working on the 2nd and the 3rd of May. And that location, of course, is, I think, akin probably to Bemm as being one of the favourites on the East Coast. Mate, we're going to go to Forster.
Sensational. I'm so glad Forster's on the calendar.
It got a little bit of a rest there a little while back, but look, there's some really amazing minds, and I should give a quick shout out again to Babs and Hicko. I love communicating with those guys. It's just we've got some amazing resources. Obviously, what the Brim Fishing Project has put together in the last while gives a depth of knowledge, but all the knowledge was in the anglers previously. It was the guys that had spent the time, done the miles, and I do need to credit both Russell and Chris for just having a little bit more of a chat just to make sure. I think we've been to Forster earlier in the year previously. We've been to Forster as late as September. You can look at the results, and still the results do pan out quite well still. I think the fishery supports it, but there's been a lot of change in the waterway there, a
Yeah.
lot of sand movement, a lot of rack movement. The dynamics of the system have definitely changed, but for me, it has, and it is. I think it's a top two, if not a top one, for pretty well any brim angler, regardless of what your flavour is, whether it's kayaks or boats. I think it needs to be on sort of every calendar, dare I say.
Yeah, I mean, I would say in terms of brim fishing, it's a white knuckle fishery. Take your heavy gear. Not everyone, but for the most part, take some heavy gear and hold on. But probably the big question is Luke Rogan going to come down and give us a hiding again?
Well, I don't know, mate. I'd be surprised if he didn't, to be perfectly honest. That's a 10, that is. Who gives who the flogging? I guess only time will tell. But look, May is, I think, for both of those seasoned anglers in Hicko and Babs, kind of May just says that's where it is. So it's going to be the 2nd, 3rd of May. It's nice and early still. Hopefully the weather sort of plays a fair hand to us. So if somebody does want to shoot out to the back lake, it's still a very achievable run to get that way. And one of the other things that we haven't really touched on, Deethy, as much is sort of tides and moons and the like. And this particular arena definitely needs the right tides to be able to give every angler the best opportunity. And I think, in all honesty, for this year, I think we've got every tide worked out just about right. And dare I say that the moons in Series 16 were a bit more of a challenge for those that like to sort of follow that. Some just don't care. But arguably, I think all bar maybe two of all of these events, there's almost, I think, no full moons for the entire year. And the tides have just happened to work out good.
Good. Yeah, Foster's one of those tricky ones. Remember a couple of years ago, to me, the tide looked great. I went, this is awesome. But with the delay in the tides, it wasn't quite as we would have hoped. So.
No, look, I think we'll still do the start out of the harbour there. We'll shoot around in the Breckenridge Channel. Everyone can sort of mill around, keep an eye out for that ferry that passes through, inevitably minutes before we're ready to get everyone on the start line. But no, I think the tide's actually, again, on that one. I don't have it smack in front of me right now as we say it, but there'll be plenty of opportunity for people to take a look at what's going on there. But I'm fairly comfortable in saying that we've done the right amount of research to get that right.
Absolutely, mate. And I definitely look forward to that one. All right, moving on from April, I've got a feeling something good's coming up.
So April was obviously Tassie. May is Forster. June is riding with the Georges.
Georges River. How good is that? Now, this would have to be one of your favourite rounds, wouldn't it?
It's a cracking round. It really is. It holds some very fond memories, of course. I think there were 70 or 71 very unlucky anglers that weekend, TV.
Oh, come on, mate. Come on, mate. It all came to a point and the skills rose up and some legend took it out.
I don't know. There were 3 bites, 3 fish on the first day, 4 bites, 4 fish on the second day. I think I was floating back with the tide at around 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning and just went, oh, again, I guess I always approach these things as if they were just buying a day off. It was when we had the shop, when we had Totally Immersed as an independent store. But no, if the Georges is a great spot, there's been some really great results there over the years. The June time of year still tends to suit us. It is fresh. But generally speaking, the fishing there has always sort of stacked up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, look, as a local, I think June is probably a good month to hit it. And last year, I can't remember what the numbers were this year, but last year with Greg Lewis coming in with, 5.95 or 995 kilos. So near on 6 kilos, 6 fish. Can't argue with that on any system.
No, you can't. And there have been, like Luke Kay. I know that I think he took it out the year after I got my win, and he I remember the drains that he fished. What's the first bay around on the left?
Into Cogra Bay.
Cogra Bay.
Yeah.
Right up the back, obviously just letting that nutrient flow sort of come down. And yeah, banging. I think Luke actually had some real serious weight that year.
Yeah, and Luke, I think he won by more than a kilo. Like he dominated.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was definitely a backstory there.
I've got a funny feeling that people will be able to go back and listen to that chat that you would have had with Luke, no doubt.
I reckon they could probably have a little bit of a listen, and they might even be able to listen to yours. I think it was like episode 2 or 3. Might be episode 2. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah. No, it was early on, and I think we were in April the year that I went okay. So yeah. So, but look, it's in June. I think we've sort of cemented that as a fairly consistent arena. The weather generally tends to just sort of mostly behave itself around that time of year. It's fairly stable. Yeah, so it's a good spot to be, and I think it's the launch site. We've been very fortunate there over the years again. Yeah, so we're gonna rinse and repeat that one.
Absolutely. And the big question is, will Jason Marshall pedal all the way to the Cooks again? I don't know how he does it.
I'd be surprised if he doesn't. It's obviously not a part of it that too many people are going to get to. It's not a spot that too many people are going to be able to be on and get the consistency of fish. But it could be the old adage of do the miles, get the smiles.
Yeah.
But, it's he's certainly not the only one over the years that's done it.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about Josh Carpenter there at one point in time. I think JC has run all the way over there as well.
Yeah, I think the year that you won it, I think Chris paddled halfway there and went it's too far and turned around and went to Towra. So yeah, honestly, good luck to anyone who does it. It's about 2 hours each way. It's like a half marathon.
Yeah, it's a big slog. So we'll see. I'm hoping that somebody gets to tell their version of that story, whether it's a repeat winner again or somebody new to the table, mate. So I'm very much looking forward to that one.
All right, mate. After we jump out of June, where are we going to go to?
Now, it's going to be cold, but we traditionally have always run north to the Goldie in July. We are going to stop somewhere else this year. So let's kind of do two DT. So July, August. July is going to be Lake Mac.
Okay.
And August is going to be the Goldie.
Right.
So this year we actually pushed into the month of August on the Gold Coast. And I guess as we sort of looked at that, I think July with the fish movement and the like, it's probably the premium time. But I don't think we ultimately missed out on much up there on the Gold Coast. There were some really good results in the middle of the system, on the northern end of the system, and the southern end of the system that I think makes it a really unique area for whether it is July or August. One of the other things there, we're obviously trying to keep ourselves outside of school holidays. We're not trying to run into those sort of peak periods. We did have a bit of a lineup with another series in when we wanted to be on the Gold Coast. There was actually another event on the Gold Coast at the same time. So I think it was only fair where we tried to, I think between the events, where one shuffles for one, then the other needs to shuffle for them on the next movement. I think we tried to play that one off quite fairly. So Lake Mac is going to be the July for dates, and then Goldie is going to be the 15th, 16th of August.
So once again, I've always liked Gold Coast for getting up there and having a nice little winter getaway. Get up there and get a bit warmer weather. It's very comfortable for us Southerners, and go from there.
Too true. So we'll be looking at the same location there, Broadwater Tourist Park. Won't really be too much change to that, and then much the same for the Lake Mac round. We'll launch out of the same park that we launched out of last year. I think that the team there were particularly accommodating under some fairly challenging circumstances with a lot of the rain that had been through there at the time. So we'd love the opportunity to go back and support them again.
Absolutely. All right, so we're up to round 8, round 9.
Yep. So we are actually going to give September a rest. It's just that transitioning month. It's generally a really challenging month to fish. So we've decided to give September a little bit of a break. And then what we are going to then try and do is we're going to roll into October. And this will lead us down to Mallacoota. So that is actually going to be October 10th and 11th. And some very smart individual put a round on in Mallacoota on the weekend of their wedding anniversary.
Who was that?
Goodness me. Oh, that'd be me.
Right. Well,
So,
I do remember a lovely little thing that happened down there at our weigh-in, one very rainy, cold, and you decided it'd be a good idea to just push the water out of the, what do you call them, the
off the
gazebo or the
tent.
little tent
Yep.
thing, and someone else who you might have been married to just walked straight into it like so perfectly.
And I'm pleased that you've said it exactly how it happens because she was not standing outside or on the edge of the tent as I pushed it. Like, unfortunately, Tamika just took a step forward at the most inopportune time, and I don't know, probably got about 20 liters of very cold water all over her.
Yep. It was the drenching.
So, yeah, no, yeah, not in the good books on that one. But hey, we're still here to tell the tale, so hopefully that's okay.
I don't know whether the weigh-in's still available anywhere, but you could hear it in, I think Steve was up on stage and you could hear the groan and then the laugh. It was very funny for many people.
I think the laughing was everybody watching me run away. So no, look, it's yeah, look, Coota's a great spot. It's I think it's held in an amazing regard with every angler, whether it's brim, whether you're down there for the flathead events. Yeah, it's a super good spot. So yeah, very much looking forward to getting down there. And yeah, I think the back half of the season there, Deethy, in particular, with obviously Cooter in October, we do want to roll into that southern arena. And I guess it'll be a November Australian Championships. It will be in Victoria, and the final details will be forthcoming
Mhm.
In due course. But I think it's important there where we can is to try and give the anglers the opportunity to do their last available regular round chasing the same sort of species in a similar location. So yeah, there's probably not too much hiding what our intentions are down there, but yeah, look, trying to sort of lead into that, I think, is the right thing for the anglers to culminate that entire year of energy effort running around. Probably not, rather not be chasing yellowfin on the Gold Coast and then go down to Victoria for an AC. Let's sort of move into Mallacoota and then get a little bit further south by the time we want to do the AC.
Exactly. And it'd be good to see some of the more southern anglers get down there and have a crack, like Bowen Joyner and Ben Hanscom and some of the Victorians down in Mallacoota where they fish really well. So
Yeah. And I think, Deethy, just I guess on a bit of a separate side note, there is another event that's actually going to be run down there. I think it's the weekend of the 25th of October this year is the inaugural, they're calling it the Mallacoota Flatty Classic.
right.
Dan Brady and Mitch King,
Yeah, yeah.
the boys are actually putting on a tournament down there. So, yeah, it's obviously not only just great for the brim, but here we are talking about some names that used to very much frequent the Hobie series. Down there giving it a crack with another species, but on the other side of the microphone per se, running the event themselves.
100%. Well, that's awesome. I actually wasn't aware of that. So you said they're calling it the Mallacoota Flatty Classic. Is that your
I
memory
think
of
it,
it?
I think it is. I'd have to actually jump online and see if I can pick it up. Jack Demi will know all about it because he was trying to wrangle myself, Mitch Madison, and himself to go down there and fish it, and the boys were very kind to try and give us an opportunity to make a spot for the event because I'm confident that it's actually sold out.
Right. And I assume obviously it's a boating event
Correct.
rather than a kayak
Yeah.
event.
Yeah, so it was just that it was sort of on my mind there, and as we were sort of talking about Mallacoota, and I thought, oh well, I better just give that a really quick nudge. So yeah, I'll have to get the exact details on it, but we'll see whether that's yeah Mallacoota Flatty Classic, October 2025, and then they're certainly going to Gippy Lakes in March next year for another run. So yeah, it's definitely up there. There is a page. It's on social, Mallacoota Flatty Classic.
Well, there you go. There you go. How good is that?
That might be another one you get to have a chat about somewhere, somehow.
Yeah, definitely. The boys hear it and want to review it. I'd definitely like to jump into the flathead at some point. So
Yeah, there you go. Well, mate, hopefully that gives everyone a fairly sort of concise insight for the entire calendar. It gives everyone a bit of a wrap up there for what was Series 16, and then obviously just a little bit of insight into, I guess, the goings on of all things Hobie, and really looking forward to be able to getting some better insight over the course of the next couple of months, just as to what this change does mean from an operational point of view. But I think that the biggest thing that we have to look forward to in our region is getting parts and accessories back on the shelves to support the people that have supported us with their purchase. of their Hobie branded products across the last 20 years. And then obviously getting back to giving the dealers every capability to be able to support all of the consumers that have supported them as well.
Okay, Chris. So, look, as you'll be aware, when I end the episode, I give the guests an opportunity to give a shout out to whoever they want. In this case, it's a little bit more special, a little bit more detailed. Do you want to tell us about who you'd like to give a shout out to?
Well, mate, first and foremost to you, thank you very much for the opportunity. The platform really does, as we continue to talk about, provide, I guess, a space for new people coming into this particular platform of tournaments. It also provides a resource that is unmatched anywhere else. So, mate, look, thank you to you. Thank you for continuing to turn up at all of our events, of course, as well. It's great to catch up with you. Look, we do talk about the anglers, mate, and I'll just say it one more time. There is no series without the anglers. They mean the absolute world to us, and I think they can see me running around there in the mornings, whether there's things to fix or things to find or things to get. I really do want to make every single angler's experience 110%. So thank you very much to them, and I guess on behalf of the anglers, as well as saying as much as it is on behalf of Hobie, the sponsorship group that we have there right now that really does bring these events together. I do trust that they are getting all of the appropriate support from the anglers, I guess, by ways of their purchases and the like. There is a commercial side to what we do, just in the world that we live in. But these sponsors too, on the most part, there's a lot of family businesses that are being run that are actually putting their hard-earned money on the line to grow the recognition of their brand in our sport and specifically in our space of Hobie Kayak Fishing. So they do mean a bunch to us. We have the good fortune to communicate with them all directly. So I guess as a shout out, absolutely a massive shout out to them. But in particular there, DP, I mean, the partnership that we've had with Daiwa now for all of these years really cannot go unmentioned. And on behalf of all the anglers and us as Hobie, as those that run the series, a massive shout out to the entire team at Daiwa for their naming rights support, and we look forward to just keeping that ball rolling. They're an amazing corporation that support all of the competitors and the end users, whether it's recreational or otherwise, and it's great to see the growth of that organisation continuing to grow year in, year out.
Yeah, absolutely, and cracking products to boot.
No doubt. So, no, mate, it's as I said, it's a really great way to sort of wrap up Series 16, and mate, I just cannot wait to get back out there for Series 17. I am looking forward to this brief break. I can't tell you that I'm not, but equally, mate, I'll be absolutely chomping at the bit to make Bemm River and Marlo at the start of the year two absolutely perler events.
Absolutely, mate, and I do look forward to seeing you fishing again very soon.
Mate, unless you are going to come up to Harrington somewhere over the December-January period, you'll find me on the beach fishing out of the back of the car. That's my happy place for fishing right now.
Very good, mate. Sounds very good to me. All right, mate. Well, look, thank you for coming on again, and thank you for all the things that you do in terms of putting together a series for us, running it, and mate, appreciate your work. Thank you.
No, it's far from just me, Deethy, and a very quick and final shout out again to the entire Hobie fishing team. I did try and make sure that I thank them on the weekend there at St George's Basin, but Brad does an amazing job at making anglers look absolutely amazing. If it wasn't for Daryl's organisation and support skills there, the day-to-day things that we do at those rounds just would never happen. But there's an amazing group of people back at the factory that are absolutely physically hands-on involved with everything that we do. Whether it's Zoe, Tamika, Scotty, Mick, Shane, Brad, Daryl, it's a team effort. So there might be an opportunity to see Daz on the water at Marlo. So I'm pretty stoked about that. We'll just have to make sure he has to come back in a little bit early to make sure that we don't stuff up all of his good hard work.
Mate, if Daryl's on the water, mate, what I want to see is those gates about less than a metre apart, mate. We'll push him through that. How about that?
I'll hold you to that, buddy.
Very good, mate. All right, thanks again, mate, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening. Hopefully you were informed, inspired and entertained. If you were able to learn something or just enjoyed listening, please consider subscribing and rate us on your favourite podcasting platform.